You ever notice how women panic the moment they feel safe? Not when you're distant, not when you're cold, when you're perfect. That's the paradox nobody talks about. The better you treat her, the more unstable she becomes. Most men see this backward behavior and think, I must be doing something wrong. You're not. She is. But not the way you think. Here's the truth they won't tell you. Female psychology doesn't operate on logic, it operates on emotional thermostats. And when you turn up the heat too fast, when you make her feel too much too soon, her system hits the emergency brake. Before I explain why, hit that subscribe button. This isn't soft dating advice. This is the neuroscience of why she runs when she should stay. If you want to stop being confused by her contradictions, that button is your access code. Now let me show you what's really happening. Picture this scenario because I know you have lived it. You and her just had an incredible date. You connected on a soul level. She told you about her fears, her childhood, her old scars. The chemistry was undeniable. You went home buzzing, thinking, this is it. We just leveled up. But the next morning she disappears or she becomes distant, polite, almost like a stranger. Why? The male logic operates in a straight line. Great connection equals acceleration. If the date was good, we move faster. But female psychology, especially for women with emotional depth, operates like a wave. High intensity equals a need to retreat and rebalance. When a woman opens her heart too quickly or too deeply to you, her nervous system immediately triggers a red alert. In psychology, we view this as a reaction to a threat to autonomy. The moment she showed you her true self, she felt emotionally naked in front of you. That is a terrifyingly unsafe position to be in. She feels like she just handed you a loaded weapon that could destroy her. So, what is the natural biological response? To retreat, to pull back into her shell, to put her armor back on. This coldness is not an act of rejecting you. It is an act of protecting herself. She needs time to process the sheer intensity of the emotions that just occurred. She needs to reassure herself. I am still okay. I am still in control. I am not going to be swallowed whole by this feeling. But this is where the tragedy happens. Men do not understand the concept of a vulnerability hangover. You see her close the door, and what do? You start banging on it. You text her, is everything okay? Did I do something wrong? Why are you acting weird? You are trying to use logic to solve an emotional problem. And that action, despite your good intentions, is exactly what kills the romance. When she is gasping for air after diving too deep into the ocean of emotion, you running over and demanding attention is like pushing her head back under the water. You turn her need for a little space into a desperate need to escape your pressure. Remember this, true intimacy is scary. For a woman who values her heart, admitting she is emotionally dependent on a man is a massive risk. So the next time she goes cold, right after a moment of intense heat, do not view it as a punishment. View it as halftime. She just played her heart out in the first half, and now she needs to go to the locker room to recover before the next round. If you are masculine enough to stand firm and wait outside that door without screaming or panicking, she will walk back out with more passion than before. But if you break that door down, the game is over immediately. However, pulling away doesn't just happen after intimacy. Sometimes it shows up in a more subtle, maddening form that I call the loud silence. Now, let's talk about the silence itself. To a man, silence is a void. It is the absence of data. When she stops texting, you look at your phone and see nothing. But to a woman who is emotionally invested, silence is not empty. It is heavy. It is actually an emotional traffic jam. The competitor might tell you she is overthinking because she loves you. That is too simple. Let's look at the mechanics of analysis paralysis. Think about how you text a friend you don't really care about. You type it out, hit send, and throw your phone on the couch. You don't care if there's a typo. You don't care if it sounds cool. You have zero emotional attachment to the outcome. Indifference is sloppy. Indifference is easy. But when a woman is deeply attached to you, the stakes are suddenly sky high. Every word carries weight. She isn't silent because she has nothing to say. She is silent because she has too much to say and she is terrified of saying it wrong. She types a message, deletes it. She types it again but tries to sound more casual, deletes it. She waits 3 hours so she doesn't look. Desperate. Then realizes 3 hours is too long and she looks rude, so she freezes. This is what I call the perfectionism trap. Her silence is often a symptom of her trying to curate the perfect version of herself for you. She is hyper aware of your perception. She is analyzing your last text, your tone, even your punctuation, trying to match your energy perfectly so she doesn't scare you off. If she didn't care, she wouldn't waste a single calorie of brain energy on this. So, when the text responses slow down or when she leaves you on read for longer than usual, do not assume she is ignoring you. Assume she is stuck in her own head. She is navigating a minefield of her own insecurities because she values the connection too much to mess it up. The silence is not a lack of interest, it is a surplus of anxiety. And while she is stuck in this silent paralysis, something very interesting happens. She stops talking to you, but she starts watching you. This brings us to one of the most confusing signals for men, the silent orbiter. You might say, but she hasn't texted me in 2 days. Surely she's moved on. Look closer. Is she viewing your Instagram stories? Is she one of the first people to see them? Did she like a post from 3 weeks ago? Does she show up in places where she knows you might be? This is the critical difference between ghosting and pulling away. Ghosting is the removal of attention. A woman who wants to leave you will cut the cord. She will unfollow, block, or simply never look in your direction again because you no longer exist in her reality. Pulling away is the removal of interaction, but the intensification of observation. Why does she do this? It comes back to safety. Direct communication, texting, calling, meeting requires vulnerability. It requires her to put her heart on the line where it can be rejected. But passive consumption, watching you from the safety of her screen, gives her a hit of dopamine without the risk. She is orbiting you. She wants to keep you in her universe. She is checking to see if you are happy, who you are with, and if you are still the same steady man she fell for. She is feeding her attachment to you from a safe distance while she sorts out her internal chaos. It is a paradox. She is pushing you away with her hands, but keeping her eyes locked on you. If you see her name pop up on your story views, or if she interacts with your content while ignoring your texts, do not get angry. Do not call her out on it. Recognize it for what it is. It is a tether. She is holding on to the rope. She just isn't ready to pull herself closer yet. However, and this is a massive however, everything I just said comes with a dangerous trap. There are men watching this right now who are going to use my words to justify staying in a toxic situation. They will say, oh, she treats me like garbage, but she watches my stories, so she must love me. No, that is how you lose your dignity. We need to pause the psychology lesson and do a reality check because there is a difference between a woman who is scared and a woman who is just using you for attention. And if you can't tell them apart, you are not being patient, you are being played. Let's talk about how to filter the truth from the noise. We need to filter the women who are pulling away out of fear from the women who are just using you for attention. Breadcrumbing. Here are the 3 non-negotiable signs that her distance is toxic and you need to walk away. Filter 1, the quality of the return. When a woman pulls away because she is overwhelmed, she eventually comes back. But how does she come back? Does she come back with warmth? Does she seem relieved to reconnect? Does she try to make up for the silence with affection? That is fear. Or does she come back only when she's bored? Does she come back at 2 a.m.? Does she come back asking for a favor? That is not attachment. That is exploitation. She is checking if you are still on the hook. Filter 2, the accountability factor. When you eventually reconnect and you mention the distance calmly, what does she do? A woman who values you will feel bad. She might say, I'm so sorry. I've just been in a weird headspace. She acknowledges the gap. A manipulator will gaslight you. She will say, you're crazy. I wasn't distant. You're just needy. If she makes you feel guilty for noticing her absence, that is a red flag the size of a billboard. Filter 3, the investment ratio. Look at the relationship outside of the cold periods when things are good. Is she actually investing? Does she ask about your life? Does she do things for you? Or is the relationship entirely centered around her needs, her moods, and her schedule? If she fails these tests, if she is cold, unaccountable, and selfish, turn this video off. She isn't pulling away because she loves you. She is pulling away because she doesn't respect you. Have the self-respect to close the door. But if she passes these tests, if she is kind, caring, and genuine, but just prone to these sudden shutdowns, then you are dealing with something deeper. You are dealing with the psychology of self-sabotage. If she is a good woman, why would she ruin a good thing? It defies logic. You treat her better than her exes. You listen. You are stable. So why is she running? In psychology, we call this the upper limit problem. Every human being has an internal thermostat for how much happiness and love they can tolerate. It sounds crazy, but many people are not comfortable with being treated well. If she grew up in chaos, or if she has a history of toxic relationships, her baseline setting is struggle. Chaos feels familiar. Peace feels foreign. So when you come along and offer her consistent, healthy, unconditional love, you push her above her upper limit of happiness. Her subconscious mind starts screaming, "This is too good to be true. The other shoe is going to drop. I need to get back to safety." How does she get back to safety? She sabotages. She pulls away. She creates distance. She might even pick a fight over something stupid. She is unconsciously trying to bring the relationship's happiness level back down to a zone where she feels comfortable, which is often a zone of mild anxiety and distance. She isn't rejecting you because you are not enough. She is rejecting the intimacy because it is too much. She is looking at you and thinking, "He is amazing. If I let him in completely and he leaves, it will destroy me. So I better push him away a little bit just to prove I can survive without him." It is a twisted form of survival logic. Understanding this changes everything. You stop taking her distance as a personal insult. You realize that you aren't fighting against her. You are fighting against her past programming, but knowing this is only half the battle. The real question is, how do you break this cycle without breaking yourself? Most men try to fix her. They try to be the therapist. That fails. Other men get angry and punish her. That also fails. To handle a woman who is sabotaging out of fear, you need a strategy that is counterintuitive. You need to become unshakable. I call this the lighthouse strategy. Think about a lighthouse. It stands on the edge of the jagged rocks. The ocean is chaotic. The waves are crashing. The storm is raging. Does the lighthouse run out into the ocean to chase the ships? No. Does the lighthouse turn off its light because the ships are far away? No. It stays grounded. It shines its light consistently. And because it is stable, the ships eventually find their way back to it when the storm clears. Here is your 3-step tactical plan to be the lighthouse. Step 1, the mirror of stasis. When she pulls back, your instinct is to lean forward to close the gap. Do not do that, but also do not pull back out of anger to punish her. If you chase, you look needy. If you run away, you look bitter. Both prove that she controls your emotional state. Instead, you stand still. You mirror her energy, not her distance. If she takes a day to reply, you don't need to play games and wait exactly 24 hours, but do not double text. Do not blow up her phone. Match her investment level calmly. You remain present, but you stop initiating until she reaches out. Step 2, the safety gap. Low pressure communication. If you do reach out, or when she finally replies, you must remove the demand. Most men send texts that feel like chores. "Why didn't you reply?" or "Are we still on for Friday?" These are heavy. They require emotional labor. Change your approach to low pressure broadcasting. Send value. Don't ask for it. Send a meme she'd laugh at. Send a picture of something cool you just saw. And here is the secret weapon. Add a phrase like, thought you'd like this. Hope you're having a busy week. This sub communicates, I am thinking of you, but I am not demanding your time. It removes the guilt she feels for being silent, which makes it 10x easier for her to open up again. Step 3. Visual independence. While she is in her cave dealing with her feelings, she is wondering what you are doing. If she thinks you are sitting at home staring at the wall waiting for her, her attraction drops. You need to show, not say that your life is moving forward. Go to the gym, hang out with friends, work on your business, and let her see it via social media or just by being busy. When she sees that you are happy and thriving without her constant validation, it triggers a primal fear of loss. It flips the switch in her brain from I need space from him to wait, I don't want to lose him. This brings us to the final most important point. This is the difference between boys and men. When a woman pulls away, she is often unconsciously running a test. She is testing your emotional leadership. She is the ocean, chaotic, fluid, changing with the wind. She wants to know if you are the mountain, solid, unmovable, and permanent. If her bad mood ruins your day, you failed the test. If her silence makes you insecure, you failed the test. If her hesitation makes you lash out, you failed the test. She cannot lean on you if you crumble the moment she stops holding you up. The woman who pulls away out of fear is looking for safety. She wants to know that no matter how crazy her internal world gets, you are the rock that doesn't move. When you apply the lighthouse strategy, when you remain calm, warm, and independent despite her distance, you are proving to her that you are stronger than her chaos. You are proving that you are a safe harbor. And that is the moment the dynamic shifts. That is the moment she stops running from you and starts running to you. Because in a world full of weak men who panic at the first sign of trouble, a man who can master his own emotions is the rarest, most addictive thing she will ever find. If she is pulling away, it hurts. I know, but it is not the end. It is an opportunity. It is a moment for you to distinguish between a toxic woman who is playing games and a good woman who is battling her own fears. And more importantly, it is a moment for you to prove to yourself that your self-worth does not depend on a text message. Be the lighthouse. Let her navigate her storm. If she is the right one, she will look for your light, and she will come back harder, faster, and more in love than before. And if she doesn't, you are still standing tall, shining bright, ready for the ship that actually deserves to dock in your harbor. If you want to stop guessing and start understanding the hidden language of female dynamics, if you want the unfair advantage that 99% of men will never have, then you need to be here. Click that subscribe button for Insider Her Psychology. We don't do fluff, we do the truth. And do me one favor. If you are committed to handling this with dignity, go down to the comments and write, I am the lighthouse. Let that be your promise to yourself today. Stop chasing, start leading.